How's it going, guys? Just want to share a dream I had about the coronavirus. This was around January 28th or 29th. I didn't write this dream down because I really didn't think it was going to be anything like that. But this coronavirus dream started where I was in China doing trade with two Chinese men. We had a lot of money, a lot of coins, and a lot of like bills, like actually bills bundled up, and we were just exchanging money back and forth. And there was also some paperwork. I don't know what the paperwork said, but we were just going back and forth with the paperwork, um, and doing business. But after I finished doing business with the guys, like they seemed kind of like, I don't know, like mad at me or something. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't really like in the dream anymore, like first person. I was watching the dream from that point on, and I saw the two men. They actually like created like the coronavirus, and to get revenge against America and like all these nations. Like I don't know like how literal that part is, because I don't know if China has something against the US. I ain't trying to start no wars and that with this video or accuse them of something like that. But just specifically these two men, they just had something against like the trade that was going on, like the business. I don't know if they felt like they were getting shorted. I really don't know. But they created this virus, and even though I know, like, now I know the coronavirus is already something that's has been around, just not on this level. Um, and all of a sudden, there was this factory that they had like these long tubes that were attached to like this place where the coronavirus was. So like the tube was here, and then it was attached to like this building, and there was five of these like long tubes attached to this one factory building. And I was inside of the building like watching everything, and I saw all these like Chinese guys like trying to figure out like why were the tubes like in the building, because they hadn't noticed those tubes being there before. So all of a sudden they got like the government involved, and they were all looking and like kind of like trying to figure out like why were these tubes like attached to this factory. They weren't there yesterday, so how did they get there? But the two Chinese men had placed them in the building so they could put the virus in the building. And this was all still in China. And it was kind of crazy because just the look on their faces, like the government officials and like the guys who were working at the factory, was kind of like how did these things get here? Like they really were shocked, because it kind of the tubes kind of just looked like a regular something that would be in a factory anyway. But it took them a little while to notice it. But when they did, they were like really trying to figure out like what's going on. And there was a sixth tube, and this tube was attached to this like office building, like this huge office building. And there was a lot of Chinese guys in like working in this office building, like suit and tie type of building. And they noticed that one of the floors was boiling. Like I can't explain it, but like it was almost like they had one of the tubes like under the floor, like literally like attached to the bottom of the floor. Like if you look at a ceiling in a house, just imagine like a tube being like pressed against the bottom of the ceiling. So they're looking at this floor, the floor from their viewpoint, and it was boiling. Like I've never seen anything like that before. And they didn't know what was like on the other side of the floor. And they called like this white guy over who also worked with them, and they were explaining to him like what's wrong with the floor. And all of a sudden, the white guy, he's just like, oh, like maybe it's just water. And in the dream, even me, I was like, nah, that's not water. And all of a sudden, like the floor exploded, and the coronavirus went everywhere in the dream, like all over this room. It was so much pressure from the tube in the floor because it was blocking it to try to come through, that it just like went everywhere. Like even like I was like, if I can explain it, like my camera view was like, I think you would say like third person, so I wasn't in the dream, but I was watching everything, and it even like went in my camera viewpoint, so I couldn't even see anything in a dream. And then I just woke up after that. But just a warning to, the nations. Like, I know God was just showing me that virus is going to go everywhere. And like, unfortunately, like, I don't even like to hear about things like this, like these kind of things where people are dying so fast, people are getting sick, even if they're not dying. I wouldn't take it lightly. I wouldn't be like afraid, as believers. Of course, Jesus already prophesied this in Matthew 24 when the disciples asked him of the signs of the age to come. And pestilence was one of the things that Jesus said. He said, these things will happen, but this is not the end yet. But I want to like key in on that part, because I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, this isn't the end yet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying it is, but if you look at things on a timeline, you don't know how close we could be to the end. I know there's events that do have to happen before the tribulation happens, but, what if this is like the step before, a few steps before the tribulation in a timeline that only God really knows? It's just a thought. You can't look at scripture and just be like, oh, well, Jesus said the end is not yet. Yeah, it's not yet, but what if this is like, 5 minutes from 12 a.m. and, in our minds, we might think Jesus is saying, oh, this isn't the end yet, so it's 11:30. When really, what if it's 11:55 or 11:57? Just saying. So just be careful, be wise, be watchful. I wouldn't take it lightly at all. Pray, keep yourself covered, and also take physical precautions, of course, wash your hands, and try to keep as little contact with other people as possible. If you don't have to, don't, you know what I'm saying? And that's just the message I wanted to share. I do believe that this is definitely spreading all over the world, as you can clearly see on the news. I'm not trying to scare anybody or nothing like that, but just take it as a warning. God showed me that dream for a reason. This was before it was out of China. It was only in China at this time of the dream that I had this dream. And I know other people are having dreams, and other people have had dreams about things like this years ago, and it's just not coming to pass. So just be wise. And if God has people out here speaking his messages to the nations, I would take an ear to that. I would, if I wasn't in a position where I knew Jesus yet, I would at least be like, yo, these believers, these people who say Jesus is real, a lot of things they say come to pass. They sound crazy, but I would still listen to them, man. There's no other religion, as far as faith wise, no other people who say they believe in any other type of lowercase g God that are getting revelations and dreams like this. This was prophesied in the Old Testament as well, in the book of Joel. So we already know that young men and women and old men and people of all ages will begin to get visions and dreams, and it will be accurate, and it will be like a sign to the world. So this is a prophecy in throughout America, throughout all the people who are receiving these dreams and visions of the end times. And that's all I have to share. I'm gonna record like 4 or 5 more videos of things I need to get out, because I just it wasn't really time for me to share some dreams, but it's definitely making sense to me now. So God bless, and I just pray you guys stay covered. All right, peace.